Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on the Hit and Move Face Saver Headgear. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here. Today I'm doing the long-awaited review of the Hit and Move Face Saver Headgear. This retails for $259 on their website. I got mine in the all black colorway. Size small, medium. There's actually a tag with the size stitched into the crown of the headgear. You can also get this in large XL. So there's essentially two sizes to choose from, and there's a sizing chart on their website that you can use to determine what is the correct size for you based on the circumference of your head. I put the headgear on the scale and it weighed in at 13.2 ounces, which is the lightest face saver I've ever used. For reference, the winning FG5000 face saver weighs in roughly at about 15 ounces, so significantly lighter than the winning, which is one of the main features of this headgear, which we'll discuss in more detail here in a second. It's constructed of genuine leather on the exterior of the headgear, not synthetic, which is pretty cool because oftentimes the headgears that are more lightweight, they usually offset the weight by using a synthetic compared to a genuine leather, which saves a little bit of weight. But in this case, they use genuine leather and it's still very lightweight. So you do have the genuine leather on the exterior. You also have the synthetic aniline leather. Now, this is my favorite type of liner for headgears. This is not an exclusive material just for Hit and Move. Other companies use it as well, like Phenom. And to me, it's a good compromise between leather and like a cloth liner interior. Now, with leather, typically if it's on the inside as the liner, once you start sweating, with leather, it tends to want to slip around a lot. So when you're taking punches, you often have to readjust the headgear because it shifts around a lot. With cloth liners, it does a better job of staying in place and not moving around as much as leather. The downside or the drawback is that cloth liners tend to soak up a lot of sweat and they get really funky. So this aniline leather to me is a really great compromise because you get definitely more grip than traditional leather, but you don't have to worry about this material soaking up all the sweat and getting funky on the inside. So again, this is my favorite type of liner for headgear so far. You also do have a quick clip chin strap at the very bottom with the plastic male and female end. Obviously, this type of chin strap was really popularized by Winning. And you still have a lot of other brands that use your conventional, like, belt buckle chin strap that uses the metal buckle as well as the leather strap that has the holes in it. So you still have that, which is fine. I mean, they both work. But for speed and convenience, this is really the way to go with the quick clip system. So you do have that. You also have rear and top lace closure, which to me is my personal favorite. I definitely prefer lace-up closure headgear compared to Velcro. I feel like lace closures just give a better fit and feel. I feel like it just kind of wraps around your head better than a Velcro type closure does. The rear closure obviously is used for the circumference of your head to kind of give you that horizontal fit. And then the top crown lace up is for the depth of your head. So once you put the headgear on, how far down it sits onto your head. So you do have that. You do have the ear donuts on the side, so nothing too crazy here, which is about 1 inch in firm density foam padding. With the crossbar, you have the Hit and Move logo right there on the crossbar. So you have that on both sides. And then obviously you do have the bar that is installed in the front of the face saver. Now that's where the majority of the weight is going to be, is because of this bar. Typically face savers use a metal, whether it's aluminum or a steel bar on the front, which to me is much better than going with like a PU or a plastic, because with the bar system, if you have any type of pressure point on your temples, your forehead, your cheeks, or sometimes even on the back of your head, you can actually compress or you can open up the headgear to relieve any type of pressure points where the bar is located. So you have that. In terms of padding, this is very similar to their Air Armor headgear, where you have basically what they call micro padding. And that's where you're getting a lot of the weight savings with this headgear. So before I kind of go into detail about that, there's a couple key details with this face saver I wanted to kind of go over, a couple of disclaimers. Now, for me personally, I hate face savers, okay? Not just this, face saver, this particular one, but just face savers in general. I've never been a fan of them. If you've watched any of my reviews in the past, I'm not a fan of face savers. For me in particular, it's because I feel like it impairs my vision too much. And I feel like oftentimes if you're wearing a face saver, you take more punishment than you should. Not only because you can't see certain punches, mainly like uppercuts, a lot of vertical rising punches because of this bar. And I feel like you get a little bit more confident in taking punches because you're not getting any contact to your face. So if somebody's throwing a jab or a straight at you, I feel mentally you're a little bit more, you take a little bit more risk, if that's the better way to put it, from someone throwing punches at you. So rather than using your head movement to try to close the distance between you and your opponent, you kind of just try to walk it down because you feel confident that this face saver, this bar right here, is going to protect you. So I feel like you have a little bit more of an issue with judgment when you're using this compared to if you're using like an open face or a cheek headgear, where you're going to be much more cautious on how you work your defense and how you close the gap between you and your sparring partner. So that's really the reason why I've never really liked face savers. I feel like, again, I take too much punishment with it, and you're still getting punched, right? So the concussive force behind someone's punch is still landing on your head, regardless if there's a bar right here or there's no bar, if that punch is landing. Now, obviously, the saving grace with the face saver, what it's designed for, is to prevent contact to the front part of your face, particularly your nose and your orbital bone. That's really the area, kind of this area right here, is where you're really trying to save your face, no pun intended, which is really important to me. People that are maybe sparring and they work like in a white collar industry where they can't come to work with, a black eye or, a broken nose or any type of facial damage. Even maybe somebody that's in a business where they have to present a certain way and have to look a certain way and they can't go to work looking like that. Or if you're at a high level pro. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I see guys like Pacquiao use face savers, which is true. And I think that's the reason they use it, is because if you're a pro at the highest level and you have a lot of money that is on the line for your upcoming fight that's in a couple of weeks and you're in the middle of training camp, the last thing you want is to sustain any type of damage to your face that can, prevent you from getting into your fight. Like, sometimes you see fighters will have to pull out of a fight because they got an injury to their eye or to their cheek, and they had to pull out. So now they're missing out on their payday. So, if you're talking 10, 15, 20 million dollars, that's why the face saver to me is important, because they can still spar at a high level, but the bar in the front helps with protecting them from taking any injury during their camp. So that to me is really where the face saver really shines with this style of headgear. Now, with Hit and Move, they have on their website, there's a lot of data here that there's really no way for me to just remember it all. But the key takeaways with this headgear is, one, going to be the padding. Now, there's definitely a reduction in padding. I would say that there's maybe about a 2-inch overall thickness, maybe a little bit under that, maybe 1 3/4 inches of padding around the headgear, on the forehead, the temple, around the side, next to the cheeks, and then on the front portion of the bar. Now you can see where they placed a little bit thicker padding on the impact zone. So they have a little bit of thicker padding, just like their Air Armor. You have the circular one with the Hit and Move logo right there. You have kind of these 2 bump ups right here, and then you have one right here and one right here for the temple. So these are basically raised cushion padding for areas that you typically would take a little bit more damage. You have a little padding on the side right here that is not as thick as the little bump outs that you have here, the micro padding, and you also have the micro padding right down here, right where the cheekbone is at. So this is essentially right here on the side of your face. So for any type of punches that are coming in, primarily hooks, you have extended padding right there. And then you have padding obviously around the front of the bar. You can see it there for yourself. And then the inside is lined with padding as well. I'd say that the padding on the inside of the face saver is a medium density foam. and it is very comfortable. So I didn't really experience any type of discomfort with the headgear when it was just sitting on my head. So in terms of comfort, it's definitely there. On the back of the headgear, you do also have these vertical padding pieces that come down on the back. Again, it's not throughout the entire back piece right here. It's just right here on the back. So if you end up getting punched on the back of the head, you do have about an inch of foam on the back. So that's really where you see how they kind of strategically place the padding throughout the headgear to give you the padding where you need it, but also kind of reduce the weight. So that's where you kind of see the weight reduction with this headgear. And compared to a lot of other headgears, it's just a smaller face saver. So it's not like this massive giant, you know, stormtrooper helmet that you have on your head that makes it a big target for your sparring partner. And that's the other thing, right? Oftentimes, you know, face savers make your head a bigger target. So it's much easier for your sparring partner to land punches on you. So just the much more compact frame and the padding not being as thick definitely helps out with the weight, but also the size and the profile of the headgear. The next thing is going to be the opening right here. This is the one that a lot of people are talking about. Is you can see that it's much larger than a lot of face savers. In fact, pretty much all the face savers that are out there in the market. Obviously, the winning FG5000 is kind of has always been the benchmark, and you see all these other brands come out with their version of a face saver, and it's basically just a copy of the FG5000, right? They make it look like it. They have the same style of padding, the same front bar, very similar, right? Rear closure, lace up, you know, quick clip, chin strap, all of that, right? So you have that. This right here is definitely larger. So what, to me, I like being able to see what's in front of me. I hate the feeling of having this horizontal bar. So that's where the biggest benefit for me comes in with this headgear. And they actually did some studies and some testing. So they brought this headgear. I'm going to go off of their website right here just to tell you guys. So they actually went to an ophthalmologist to get some studies done on the actual peripheral visions. And they had this headgear, and they had like the Winning, I think they had the Fly face saver and some others. Obviously, they're not going to name drop them on their website for legal reasons, but they basically like say Mexican model, Japanese model, British model, Canadian model, whatever. So they did tests on peripheral vision, overall field of vision, superior vision, ability to see punches coming from above. So basically, like if maybe you're like slipping underneath or you're weaving underneath and your opponent's punching downwards at you. Inferior vision means ability to see punches coming from below, that's where really the big one with the face savers because of that bar. And temporal vision, detecting motion while fixating on a central point. So basically, like if I'm staring in this direction and maybe my opponent has really quick footwork and he goes this way and he throws a punch, being able to really see that punch coming from this angle while I'm still looking forward. So that's essentially what temporal. So temporal, like hit and move was 92%. The next one would be Mexican model, which was 56%. Japanese was 62%. British was 64%. Inferior vision, hit and move 90%. Mexican model 57. Japanese model 61. Superior vision, hit and move 95. Mexican model 60. Japanese 64. Peripheral vision, hit and move was 105 degrees, matching natural peripheral vision. Mexican model was 55, Japanese model was 70, British model was 72. So out of all of these, the next best would probably be the Winning headgear in terms of just overall vision, peripheral, looking straight, and the target moves and all of that. So that's really, to me, where this headgear shines. So let me go ahead and put it on now. Enough with talking about it. I'm going to slide it on my head. So putting the headgear on, it fits very nicely. It's very comfortable. I really didn't have to adjust my headgear very much. I actually had to kind of compress mine when I first got it because I felt a little bit of pressure right here on my cheek. And once I compressed it, it kind of made it flare a little bit more outwards. So like all face savers, and this is kind of something I have to say in all my face saver review videos, is face savers typically sit kind of more at a 45-degree angle. They're not going to sit completely like flat on your head, and they sit at a 45-degree angle, whether it's this headgear, whether it's Rival, Reyes, Winning, whatever it may be. So it sits up a little bit higher, so you'll notice that this cutout right here And the bar essentially is like where the bridge of my nose is at. And most people are gonna say, oh, that's not good, because when you get hit, it's gonna jam right into your nose. No, that's not what happens. If you use the face saver, then you know that once you get hit with a straight punch, what happens is the bar actually drops down in front of your mouth. So it never actually hits your nose. And I'd have a decent sized nose that sticks out. And you can see there that, I don't have a flat nose. My nose is pretty pointy and sticks out a good amount. But when I was using this in sparring, I've had this headgear for several months now. So it's been in my rotation, but when I use this headgear for sparring, there was never once that this bar actually hit my nose. So for those of you asking, is it gonna hit your nose and slam into your nose? I personally didn't have any issues with the bar actually hitting my nose. Now, keep in mind, you gotta get the correct size headgear. If you get the wrong size, full disclaimer, you just have to size it correctly. So it's important, get yourself a measuring tape, have somebody at your house get a measuring tape and measure the circumference before you buy the headgear. But I got mine small, medium, and it fits me good. So anyhow, when you take a punch, the bar will come and actually tuck underneath your nose like it does right here. So no issues there. Once I put the quick clip on, you can see everything is adjusted to the size of my head, and it stays on really nicely, even when I take shots. The chin strap is in a perfect spot. So it's right under my chin. It's not too far back. I hate headgears that have the chin strap that comes all the way back here and it feels like you're choking yourself out, or it's like right on your Adam's apple. So when you like tuck your head downwards, you feel like the chin actually, like the strap jams into your throat. So with this, the actual positioning of the strap is perfect. There's a good amount of padding right here too, where the chin strap is at, so there's no discomfort there. The comfort around the padding around the orbital bone, the eyes and the top of my temple, everything here feels really good. My ears are actually on the inside. I'm grabbing the tip of my ear as on the inside of the ear donut on both sides. And the back of the lace-up closure is tapered, so I have full rotation of my head on the back of the headgear. So I have that all done. Everything feels very comfortable with this headgear. Next is going to be the vision. Now this is my favorite part of the headgear, is going to be the peripheral vision. Now being able to look left and right, so horizontally up and down, it's definitely the best, I would say, when it comes to a face saver. Now, can I still see this bar right here? Yes, I can still see the bar there. Is it better than the others? Yes. When it comes to a face saver, yes, definitely it's better, and I just have better vision. So will I still pick this face saver over a traditional open face or a cheek protector? No, I still like those more. I would still pick the Air Armor headgear over this one, just because, again, I'm not a fan of the bar. But if I were to choose over the other face savers, then yes, I would go with this one in terms of visibility. Now, my next question is going to be, will a glove actually make contact with my face? Now, I'll tell you guys this. I use this in multiple rounds of sparring. I only actually got touched in the face once, and it was actually right here. And when you're sparring, everything moves so quickly, right? So if you do feel something, it's like in one ear and out the other, like when it comes to your thought process, because you're in the middle of sparring, but you're not thinking about that, but you knew you felt it, right? So I was sparring a couple of weeks ago, and I did feel like it must have been maybe like the tip of the glove, and you can actually see like the opening is large enough. So if I go like this, the glove is actually touching my nose right there. With that being said, when I did get touched by the glove right around this area, it didn't do any damage, but I definitely felt a piece of the leather off the glove kind of like graze my face a little bit, and it kind of got through. So for those of you that are wondering, well, is it going to be completely 100% scot-free where I'm not going to feel anything on my face? I can't guarantee you that, because I felt a little bit. Also, when you're sparring, punches are coming all kinds of angles depending on the experience of your sparring partner. You might have somebody clinch with you. You might have somebody actually like have their glove, the tip, and go like that, right? They might try to parry a shot, and they parry, and then the fingertip parries right into your face. You can see if I do that, the fingertip of this glove, this is a 16-ounce glove from the Kennel Boxing. This is actually a good friend of mine, Arvin, in the Bay Area, in San Leandro, California, which is basically like East Bay, Oakland area. This is their glove. If you're in that area, make sure you check them out. Shout out to Arvin and the team at Kennel. But this is a standard 16-ounce sparring glove. I mean, it's not large, it's not small, it's pretty much right there in the middle, pretty much your average size 16-ounce glove. But if somebody were to come out with you and like parry a shot and they accidentally, you can definitely still feel, I mean, like right there, it's touching my eye. right? Now, is this a regular punch? No, of course it's not. But when you're sparring, again, you're throwing your punches, but there's going to be times where you guys are real close up and you're maybe parrying, or like you're kind of like in that cross guard, or you're in a shoulder roll or something, and you just kind of come forward. Shit happens, right? So to tell you guys, my answer to that is yes. There was one time that I did feel it come through. It didn't do any damage. Never got punched in the nose, nor did the bar hit my nose. So that was my experience with this face saver in terms of the actual opening with this head guard. So just something I wanted to kind of clarify with that, because I knew that question would come up, whether or not you're going to get touched. And I did get touched a little bit around this area, but again, no damage. It didn't do anything with that. And I feel like the bar did its job. You know, for those of you that are more reliant on face savers, maybe you're using it because you have, you know, a broken nose, you're recovering, you work in an industry where you can't take damage to your face, you're a pro that, you know, you have a fight coming up, you need to stay fresh, you need your face to be good, you can't have any cuts, you can't have anything, the fight's going to be in 2 or 3 weeks, then yes, definitely in terms of vision protection, I think it does a great job in terms of that. So let me go ahead and get it off. You can see again, it has a very snug, tight fit to your face, which is really good. When I was sweating in this, I'm somebody that sweats profusely when I train. I didn't have any issues with this sliding around. Obviously, if you take a really hard shot, any headgear is going to shift just a little bit. So keep in mind, it's never going to be 100% foolproof. There's never going to be a time where the headgear just literally sits on your face and doesn't move at all. You're going to have some movement. The other thing about face savers too, I'm not a big fan of, is because you have this bar right here. Actually, let me put it back on. And this is something that I'm guilty of, is uppercuts. So you're more susceptible to uppercuts and just blows or strikes. If you're not just doing boxing, if you're doing Muay Thai and other combat sports, but strikes that come upwards. And oftentimes, because it's clipped onto your head, people will actually use the bar, even if they don't hit you in the chin with an uppercut, they'll hit the bar, and what that'll do is that'll lift up your chin. They'll lift your head up, and then like I'll hit you with the left uppercut and come straight down with the right. So that's the other reason I'm not a fan of the face savers, because of that. It almost acts, it's almost like a tool that your partner can use to kind of lift your head up, because now you have this big bar right here that is almost like a target. It says like, hey, hit me here, lift up my head. So that to me is also the reason why I'm typically not a big fan of the face savers. But that's just something, you know, speaking out loud. But overall, man, you know, for a face saver, I feel like they did, compared to their air armor, I feel like this is a bigger jump for hit and move, and a bigger jump in general for face savers. You know, I haven't seen a face saver like this until this one, in terms of having much better peripheral vision, being much more lightweight and a more compact frame, and just an overall compact headgear. So I have to give them props for that, for making a bigger jump. I feel like the Air Armor was a pretty good product, but I feel like this is an even better product from Hit and Move for a face saver. So, you know, I know they come out with some pretty innovative products, but to me, out of all the products they've come out with, this is their best one in my opinion, because of what currently is out in the market that we have now when it comes to face savers. You know, obviously the FG5000 is kind of the benchmark, but there's so many out there that are very just poor, right? It's just this huge clunky headgear, and they give you just this little window to see out of, and there's really no thought process. It's just basically copy and paste. With this, I feel like they did a really good job of really trying to improve it and giving you something that you can utilize. And if you're a slick fighter, if you're a boxer that relies on a lot of movement, you're more athletic, and you want to use a face saver, then this definitely be the one to go over compared to the others. And at the price point, $259, I know that's a steep price point for any headgear, but it's significantly cheaper than like the Winnings right now. I think the Winnings are like $700, some crazy amount. Obviously, there's other brands out there that mimic that, you know, on $150 to $200. But if you're adamant about a face saver and you really want one that has really good vision, it's more compact, very comfortable, and then I would definitely recommend this one for you guys. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know what to do. Put them down below. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find this Hit and Move face saver headgear. See you guys later. Peace.